Imagine a civilization so advanced it had planned cities and covered drains nearly 5,000 years ago. Now, what if I told you it was completely lost to history, hidden in plain sight, until it was accidentally discovered by railway engineers who were just looking for bricks? Seriously, this is the incredible story of Harappa. And you know, sometimes that story is way bigger than anyone could possibly imagine. It's not just the story of a building, but of an entire forgotten world. So, where does this story even begin? Well, you might think it starts with archaeologists carefully brushing away dirt, but nope, our journey begins with a surprisingly modern and almost tragic accident. Okay, so picture this. It's the middle of the 19th century. British engineers are laying down brand new railway lines across the Punjab region. It's a huge modern project, but it's about to slam right into a very, very ancient one. As they're working, they come across this massive mound just sticking out of the ground. Now, to them, this wasn't some priceless archaeological site. It was a gold mine, a perfect source of ready-made, incredibly high-quality bricks just sitting there for the taking.
So what did they do? Exactly what you'd expect. They started dismantling the place, carrying off thousands and thousands of these amazing bricks to build the foundation for their new railway. They had absolutely no idea they were tearing down one of the world's earliest great cities. It wasn't until decades later, all the way in the 1920s, that actual archaeologists showed up and started to piece together what was really going on. So, what on earth had those engineers stumbled upon?
Those bricks, the ones they were using for their modern railway, came from a city that was thriving an unbelievable 4,700 years ago. Just let that sink in. This was the city of Harappa, and its discovery would completely rewrite the history of the subcontinent. Once archaeologists knew what they were looking for, they started finding more of these cities, all built on a similar model. And what they uncovered was a level of urban planning that is just staggering for its time. See, the Harappans didn't just throw their cities together. They were masters of urban design. Typically, they divided their cities into two main parts. Over on the west, you had the citadel. It was smaller, built on higher ground, and was probably home to important public buildings, maybe where the rulers were. Then to the east, you had the lower town. This part was much larger, and it's where most of the regular folks lived. This wasn't by accident, it was a plan. And their engineering was just wow. Their bricks were so well made they've lasted for millennia. They laid them in an interlocking pattern which made the walls incredibly strong. They had planned straight streets. Houses were often 1 or 2 stories high, and get this, most houses had their own separate bathing area. But the real game changer was the sanitation system. We're talking covered drains running along the streets with gentle slopes for water flow and even inspection holes for cleaning. That implies a really powerful, organized government that cared about public health. Speaking of amazing structures, on the citadel of another major city, Mohenjo-daro, they found this masterpiece, the Great Bath. It's a huge brick-lined tank sealed with natural tar to make it completely watertight. It was probably used for important public rituals, a real centerpiece of their community. So these incredibly well-planned cities weren't just empty structures. No way. They were bustling centers of trade and creativity. And to understand what life was like for the people there, we've got to look at the stuff they made and the things they traded for. And boy, were they connected. These people were not isolated at all. Just look at this map. They were bringing in copper from places like Rajasthan and even all the way from Oman, tin and precious stones from Afghanistan and Iran, and gold from way down south in Karnataka. This was a truly international Bronze Age culture. And to work with all these fancy materials, you need specialists, right? This wasn't a society where everyone did a little bit of everything. No, you had people who were experts at one single craft, honing their skills to produce these incredible, high-quality goods. That tells you their economy was complex enough to support all this specialized labor. Now, these are probably the most famous things the Harappans left behind. These are their seals. They're carved from stone, usually with these exquisite animal figures on them. And crucially, they have writing on them. This is the earliest form of writing in the subcontinent, and here's the kicker. To this day, it remains one of history's greatest unsolved puzzles. We have no idea what it says. And just look at the craftsmanship here. They would take this beautiful red stone, carnelian, and put it through this incredibly detailed process of cutting, shaping, polishing, and then drilling a tiny, perfect hole right through the center. These were definitely luxury items, a sign of wealth and status. Now check these out. They might not look as exciting, but these are so important. They are perfectly uniform cubes of stone, called chert, and their weights. They're incredible precision points to a standardized system of weights and measures, which would have been absolutely essential for all that complex trade we were talking about. This is the foundation of commerce, right here.
Okay, so we've got planned cities, we've got international trade, and skilled artisans. But who were the actual people making all this happen? Let's try and build a picture of Harappan society.
Well, society was pretty clearly structured. You had rulers at the top, the ones planning these amazing cities and organizing the trade for all those precious goods. Then you had scribes, people who knew how to write, which was a very rare skill, and they were needed to make seals and manage all the administration. Then you have the huge numbers of craftspeople, both men and women, making all the goods in their workshops. And finally, none of this works without the farmers and herders out in the countryside, providing food for everyone.
And how did they feed these enormous cities? With a key piece of tech, the plow. Now, the coolest part is how we know they used it. Not because any actual wooden plows survived, but because archaeologists found tiny terracotta toy models of them. This tool let them farm much more efficiently, producing all the extra food you need to support a complex urban civilization. So they built this advanced, organized, and prosperous civilization that lasted for centuries. And then it just faded away. Which brings us to the final and most haunting question of all. Around this time, about 3,900 years ago, something starts to go terribly wrong. After centuries of stability and growth, the great Harappan cities start to decline. And the archaeological evidence for this collapse is, well, it's stark, it's clear. People just abandon the cities. Those signature items of their culture, the script, the seals, the standardized weights, they all just disappear. In places like Mohenjo-Daro, garbage was found piled up on the streets. That amazing drainage system broke down, and people built crude houses right over the top of the old planned avenues. The order was gone. The rulers had clearly lost control. This is the question that has puzzled researchers for decades. Why would a civilization this sophisticated, this organized, simply collapse? The truth is, we don't have one single answer. Scholars have a bunch of theories. Maybe the rivers that were their lifeblood dried up. Maybe they cut down too many trees and caused an ecological disaster. There could have been major floods. Or maybe, the rulers just lost their grip. But here's the problem. No single one of these reasons seems to explain why all the cities across such a massive area declined around the same time. The story of Harappa is just such a powerful reminder. It shows us a civilization that achieved incredible things: urban planning, sanitation, global trade, only to disappear, leaving behind this profound mystery. It really makes you wonder, what other stories, what other entire worlds are still waiting to be discovered, right under the ground we walk on every single day?